Hello there, thrill seekers. Today's Monday Moldy Oldie comes from Turku, Finland in, I believe, August of 2009. And I'm answering a question, why don't I like to use the word meditation? And I'm planning to do a video later this week based on a couple of questions I've had from people who are doing Zazen and getting frustrated because nothing is happening. And I picked out this answer as a sort of preliminary prelude to the answer I want to give to those folks who are getting frustrated by Zazen. So here goes. Look at me at Turku in 2009. And as a bonus, I have put on a clip from a high school play, a play I did in high school of Little Women. And it's my big scene in Little Women when I was 17 or 18 years old, and I found this recently, and I thought the video that from Turku, Finland was a little bit short, so I added this as a bonus, so that's what you're going to see at the end. So, and then you'll get the donation info at the end, and I always appreciate your donations, especially now, and I'll explain why, that I really appreciate your donations these days. So the info to send a donation is at the end of the video. So let's take a look at me in Finland in 2009.
Why don't you want to use the word meditation?
Oh, okay, good. I often feel like when people talk about meditation, they're talking about, and this is not always true, but I find it's often true, they're talking about a process where you use a position or a mantra or some kind of thing in order to create some kind of a bliss state or some kind of mental
You're enlightened.
Yeah, maybe. That's weird. Anyway, yeah, that's what I mean. So it's all about that. Anyway, so they have this idea that you use the meditation to try to get some end to the meditation. So there's usually some kind of a practice that's geared towards establishing something. And the difference between that and Zen practice is Zen practice has like no goal at all, which is the hardest thing to understand. And after doing it 26 years or however long it's been, it's still hard for me to get the idea that there is no goal to this practice. Because every time I come to it, I mean every single time I come and sit on the mat and do this practice, I'm trying to get something. I'm trying to get peace of mind or something. And I have to realize that the goal is not important. What is important is just doing the practice. Just keep doing it. And occasionally I'll kind of hit upon that understanding and then lose it again. But that's I think the big difference. And actually Dogen, in his writing, wrote, I think it's in Fukan Zazengi, it's one of his most important pieces of writing. He says, the Zen practice of which I'm speaking is not meditation. So even he made the distinction between this sort of practice where you're trying to concentrate or trying to have some kind of a state of bliss or a state of enlightenment, and the Zen practice, which is something more direct. And you just keep going at it. The thing about these things where you imagine something and try to get to it is not that they're ineffective. Often you can do a practice that will end up giving you the state of bliss or the state of ecstasy or whatever it is you want. But the problem for me with that is that any sort of state you envision is the state itself that you're envisioning is a product of the same problems that you're trying to solve. Which means it's this imagination going on and saying, what would be better? I'm not good enough right now, but better would be is if I was all blissful. And then you imagine what blissful is, and then you work and work and work, and then you get blissful. But what you've achieved is this thing that you imagined that's also another product of the confusion. So what I think is better is to just keep looking at what is. And the interesting thing about that is if you keep looking at what is, all those states, including the states of bliss or the states of kind of this sort of ecstasy and all of it, it's there. The weird thing with Zen teachers is sometimes if you bring it, and I've had this happen to me several times, you tell your teacher about this state of ecstasy that you've achieved. Oh, I had this wonderful, and they'll go, no, you got to go back to your cushion. Because the problem is, once you've had that state and then it ends, because it always ends at some point, then you kind of get like all like, why isn't that happening to me? Yesterday I was all blissful. Now I feel like crap. You know? And that's the problem. You know, the reason you don't feel good is because you can't keep on this. You know, and reality is always here. It's always this moment, this time, this place. And we tend to imagine that there's some better place off over there, you know, some more enlightened place, some greater place. But there isn't really, because anything you imagine is just what you imagine. You know, even if it is bliss and whatever, even if it's really over there, it's not here. It's not real. So the thing about this practice is it just keeps hammering away at what's real. This drink, which will probably explode now because I just did that. That would be good.
Sume Alcott's Little Women.
I suppose that's a portrait of his grandfather. He looks rather nice. He's got kind eyes, and I'm sure now that if I met him, I shouldn't be afraid of him. His mouth is rather grim, and he looks as if he had a tremendous will of his own. He isn't as handsome as my grandfather, but I like him.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Mr. Morris,
So you're not afraid of me, eh?
Not much, sir.
And you don't think me as handsome as your grandfather?
Not quite, sir.
And I've got a tremendous will, have I?
I only said I thought so.
But you like me in spite of it.
Yes, I do, sir.
Well, I like you, my girl. You've got your grandfather's spirit, if you haven't his face. He was a fine man, and what's more, a brave and honest one, and I was proud to have been his friend.
Thank you, sir.
Now then, what's this you've been doing to this boy of mine?
Only trying to be neighborly, sir. I thought if I paid him a call, it might cheer him up a bit.
You think he needs cheering up, do you?
Yes, sir. He seems a bit lonely, and friends his age are doing good, perhaps. We're only girls, but we should be glad to help if we could.
Ah, there goes the bell for tea. We have it early on the boys' account. Won't you come and join us and go on being neighborly?
If you'd like to have me.
Shouldn't ask you if I didn't. Will you take my arm?
Thank you.
Oh, Miss Joe, I'm sorry I kept you. Oh, grandfather, I didn't know you'd come home
That's
yet.
quite evident, my boy, by the way you racket downstairs.
I'm sorry, sir.
Well, never mind that. Miss Joe here has consented to take tea with us.
Oh, I say, how splendid.
That's what I think. Now, won't you come and join me and see if you can behave like a young gentleman?